Okay, so we're about to coach Kestnuts. Kestnuts, best nuts, fair trade, free range, organic, best nuts. First stream you're catching live. Been loving the YouTube stuff. I've helped you get from silver to plat. Nice, nice. All right, we're gonna hop into voice comms with him. Nothing like the Speedling Bamboozle build.
I know, right?
That's probably one of the silliest ways to lose a game.
Right. I played them like 4 times last night and crushed them in macro games, so they're probably just like, ah, fuck out.
It's their best chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Can't blame them for that.
I've got note email ready. You've got party lead. We can fire away. How are you doing with the ladder? You had some trials and tribulations recently, so you're probably feeling like you're getting back into the swing of it.
Yes, very slowly. I'm probably like at about 75% normal like mental capacity still, so I had 4 replays named. Let's start with this one. Cattle Bruiser Mech Bamboozle.
All right.
Give you lobby host.
We're off to the races, starting out with ZVT versus BC. It's a very saucy strategy.
I think I had the units I needed, but my execution was just so bad that I still took massive amounts of damage.
Yeah, I think one of the nice things coming back at it, and given that you've been fighting through some tough stuff, is go into some of the simple basics of just powering up your macro build and ironing those out first before we get to the fancy stuff. So we'll see where you are. I've definitely had quite a few downswings. I think this season in particular, I had more times that I swung out of GM than any other season for like the past 2 years. So it's been pretty rough for me too, right there with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, my fundamentals are dog shit right now. Like, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it.
The quest to polish the dog shit fundamentals with Kestnuts. I'm gonna actually put that as the title.
No matter how much you polish a turd, it's still a piece of shit, folks.
Dog shit fundamentals versus direction and practice. Round 1, fight. Okay. So, what is your overlord timing? 20 or 19 or what?
I get it at 26 after I drop the third.
Oh, okay. So if there's an SCV here, what do you do?
I make an overlord and then 2 extra queens.
Cool.
First 2 pop. And then send the lings across and try and kill the SCV building the command center. It's really funny when that works out.
I might recommend making 2 in this case. Just because you have the money and that allows you to make your next 2 queens and spend your larva into drones right away. Because like right now, we're pretty off balance. We're supply blocked for a long time because of that.
Super annoying.
I've been seeing Cyril go for quick 4 queens and taking the third with ling speed, just because it's not vulnerable to getting fucked with by the SCV or by the bunker or by the Reaper. A lot of Terrans are kind of on to the 26 supply third at this point, and the first 4 queens help you quite a lot with defending various kinds of harass that hit, but I would kind of leave it to you. If you do the 16 hatch opener, we'll say if SCV plus Reaper is blocking, make 2 overlords, then 4 queens, 4 lings, and larva into drones. Take third with ling speed. Or 330 hatch opener, where you go 30 overlord. I actually memorized the time for this and it helped me a lot with dealing with Reaper harass. 2 minutes 32 seconds is when you would take your 30 Overlord with a standard progression where you go 20 Overlord and then 30 Overlord. It helps me to balance the focus that I put on saving my Lings against the Reaper and protecting my drones and knowing when that next round of larva is coming out, because it hits at a predictable time based on your hatch gas pool build. So that would be...
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, that would be 20 Overlord, 2 Queens, and then 30 Overlord at 232, plus 1 drone, and then 2 more Queens. And then you've got 2 injects and 2 tumors once you get up to 4, which is really nice.
I just feel like so larva starved when my third gets delayed like this.
The thing that you have to do with the later third is put your natural drone count in the red. So that should be something like 21 to 24 drones before your third is done.
Okay.
You lose a little bit of efficiency, but it's more about the stages of ZVT and when it's safe to drone or not, rather than having like perfect 16 out of 16 optimal mining. Another reminder here, you want to get your creep connection between the main and the natural pretty fast. That helps with BC harass. You can put your creep tumor right here at the bottom of the ramp if you want to, or you could put one that's on the bottom edge of the main and then creep that to the right. Either of those are fine. But let's say that generally speaking, that can be a criteria of moral victory for you, is creep connection between your bases. When we're feeling like shit and playing like shit, it's good to have some stuff that we can just knock off the list of good practice. So practice objective. Creep connect the bases. Main to nat. Nat to third. Third to fourth. Push in front of fourth. Sweet. Bold and red, so we can see it from very far away and it hurts our eyes. Got it. Nice. Okay, so we're getting the third up. Queen's escorting a little bit. Got your ling speed going, nice. Oh, you know the spot. Nice. Creep at the bottom of the ramp. And then for our Overlord placement, our basic order of operations is you want to have vision outside your nat, so you can see if there's Reaper or Hellion there, and then you want to see vision outside your third, if there's Reaper, Hellion, or Hellbat morph over there, and then I would probably fill the spots for Liberator. So maybe one here, one there, and then a couple up here. And you should be pretty much good to go. That's
yeah, I like to, I usually like to focus on getting an Overlord over each of these pedestals really, really quick. I feel like those are really, really good spots that catch a lot of stuff coming in here.
Yes, I agree.
I think when games go like this, I get so discombobulated that even like basic shit like my normal Overlord placements just goes to hell.
Yeah, you might try the the 4 queen opening just because that doesn't require any adjustment. It is really annoying when you go for an early hatch build and they deny that and you're kind of like, well, now what do I do? Whereas with this one, you don't really make any adjustment unless they're going for a proxy barracks cheese.
Yeah, that might be worth it just for the sake of having a solid build that can't really be disrupted.
You've got your 5 safety roaches at the third, I like it. Hellions are driving into the natural though.
Yep.
So this is one of those cases where the air unit is just the distraction for the ground stuff. So let's think about the distribution of the drones and how to prioritize your defense here. This is always going to be kind of tough. defending these multi-prong attacks.
Well, yeah, that's what makes this a good build, right? Because even if you know it's coming and have the right tools in place, it's still a pain in the dick to deal with.
Yep. 5 roaches and 3 lings is enough to beat the Hellions head on, but you won't be able to deny them going into the natural. I think you had a few more lings earlier, but some basic stuff you could do for Hellion defense would be, let's see, Hellion defense at, we'll say 5 minutes to 6 minutes. This is when BC / Banshee / lib plays happen. So we want to have 5 roaches at the third. You get a check mark for that one, good job. 10 to 14 lings at the nat. 1 queen in main off hotkey. Other queens between nat and third. Ready to defend whatever. Because the lings can't be the Hellions off creep, and they should not go off creep at all. They're purely to punish this move that the Terran goes for. And you just keep them there. It's amazing how often Terran will send them in blindly. And it's based on how successful it is. I think the chances of them getting some heavy damage in while they also distract is really high. So they're kind of working from experience of this usually works, so I'm going to do it again, even though they don't have vision of what's in your natural right now. And that's why the 12 to 14 lings, it's kind of like your safety banes, and you would have them like 6 lings here on the lower side of the opening and 6 lings here on the upper side. And you don't really want to chase them away from the opening, you just want to collapse in on them if they go through. And you can use hold position for that. You can also bring the roaches over too, because now you know exactly where the Hellions are. So I wouldn't even worry about putting them on separate hotkeys. You could do that if you wanted to. But
that was going to be my next question.
yeah, you could put the lings on the muta key and your roaches on the army key if you wanted to. And then your queens have their own hotkey.
Okay.
Good try and see what makes sense to you.
We'll experiment and see what works.
So we have the queen count here. Gonna be taking some damage. What are we making through it? Drones, roach speed, nice. So speed roaches actually have a decent opportunity to deal some damage against this build. And that's probably what they should do, because you have 7 or so roaches with a few more. Actually, yeah, 7 is probably just fine to be annoying. Unless they're going to shove again. But that does kind of force the Hellions to defend instead of attack. You can just put some pressure on them. It does take BCs a while to kill roaches.
Another battle cruiser. Amazing.
Roaches to the third, queens at the nat. We're making all drones through this. Making roaches. When does the first tank come out? So there's 1 cyclone, which isn't really that scary. Nice, got a BC kill.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking right now in terms of max out?
I think this was after we talked about a game plan against mech, so I was going to go for the Roach Hydra Viper max out.
Hell yeah. It's a good call. Hydra Viper beats the Cyclone style pretty handily, and it's good against tanks as well. So I think that's a strong response that doesn't really require too much adjustment based on the type of mech it is, which is part of why I like it. The thing with the Swarm Host style is it sucks against Cyclones. So if you go for Roach Ravager Swarm Host, you're kind of like, well, I hope it's not Battle Mech, when most of the time it is off BC opening. Do you ever see BC into bio?
Surprisingly frequently. I would say I see BC into bio more often than I see BC into mech at my MMR.
I think going for the Hydra Den is good. You're pretty good at Hydraling Bane against Bio, yeah. So I would guess that you could go for Hydra Den in response to seeing the BC, and then if you happen to find out it's Bio, just hit a Baneling Nest and Macro Hatch. And you know what to do from there.
Right.
Get some Ravagers in the mix here too for the Cyclones and stuff. Adds a nice bit of DPS. Maybe not that many if you're rushing for Hive. Excuse me, excuse. Shit. Okay, I'm fine.
Bless you.
Thank you for your blessings. I would personally hit down the Infestation Pit with the Hydra Den against this, because the timing of the Vipers is pretty key for your first max out, and you have enough money for 2 of them right now in addition to Hive. So let's give you a rough game time for Hive Tech. Okay, so versus BC into Battle Mech. Hydra Den plus Overseer Scout, and that's going to tell you Mech versus Bio. If you see Cyclones, like, you've solved the puzzle. You don't have to do an Overseer Scout if you already know.
Right.
And then Infestation Pit as soon as you know it's Mech, into Instant Hive, into 2 to 3 Vipers, Hydras with gas until you get low, then Roachling to spend mins. Cool.
Good.
Armor upgrades for mech. Overall, you're not in that bad of a position. Your drone count is solid. The main thing is the Hive needs to be faster.
I mean, ideally, I would like to be hitting this 75 worker count at 8 minutes rather than 10 minutes, but...
Yeah. The early game was kind of rough, though, with the Hellion damage, so...
Yeah.
I think this is a pretty good recovery, considering that. Another thing to get in the habit of doing more, just to kind of work on the quoting it dog shit fundamentals, would be pre-splitting your stuff and doing the Moses, just like boxing half of it, because that makes a lot of these engagements a lot better against battle mech and stuff. So you could have half your Roachling Hydra here where the queens are, and then half over here by the 4th base. So if they do come forward, you could smack them from 2 sides before the Vipers are ready. If they gave you that option. Press F for all the queens who have been Yamato'd to their doom. F. That's a lot of queens who died to Yamato.
We almost got the Overlord. Or not the Overlord, the Battle Cruiser.
The way that I think about BC harass, because I was trying to articulate why BC harass is more annoying than other kinds of Terran harass, because there are many kinds of Terran harass.
Oh yeah.
I think the main reason is, I think of the BC like a really big yard, and when you're using the queens to fight the BC, it's kind of like mowing the lawn, and you get really close to finishing mowing the lawn, and then it all just pops back up whenever the Terran repairs their BC. And it's kind of like all that work was for nothing.
Yeah, it's really aggravating because they're so tanky, right?
Yeah. They're expensive and deep in the tech tree, so I understand. And they wanted build order variety. I'm just mentally preparing myself for the Queen range nerf against species. Ugh.
I know.
Hold fast, my swarms. This is going to test us. Do you truly like Zerg, or you just want to play the OP race? Because if it's the latter, well, you should probably practice your Protoss and Terran.
I tweeted about this last night because I'm getting like really tired of seeing like so many like popular Protoss streamers and Terran streamers and whatever bitching about Zerg on Reddit and whatnot, and like, everybody wants to talk about how OP and easy Zerg is, but I don't see very many of them switching to Zerg and getting any results with them.
Yeah, I think it's mainly because Zerg makes big decisions all at once rather than like crafty and clever build decisions as much as some of the other ones, but it's really difficult in its own way. The three races are asymmetrically balanced, and I think a lot of the whining comes from seeing the things about your race that are more difficult and the ones about the other races that are easier, but you don't think about the ones that are, I guess, easier for your own race and more difficult for others. Like a Terran's ability to stay in the game when you've killed 45 SCVs and still hit a strong upgrade timing. Like I lost a game yesterday and there were 3 Marines, 1 tank, and 2 medivacs at my base, and that killed the last of my Lings and Banes. And then I was slowly dying to their reinforcements when I had 75 drones. So there.
So like this game.
Yeah, probably.
Well, it's funny. I watched you play a Protoss streamer the other day. I was watching both streams, and you won the game, and he spent the next, I don't even know how long, watching the replay and just bitching about everything that he thought was overpowered about Zerg and bad about your play. And in the time he spent bitching, you won like 2 more games.
Well, one person was making progress during that time window.
Exactly.
It's almost like a player should use the powerful moves of their respective race in the video game to take advantages.
Exactly. Watch Protoss and Terran streamers and make the units they bitch about.
Yeah. Okay, so I think clearing the supply at 36, having that be a little bit tighter might be good. I would probably recommend just experimenting with the 4 queen build and seeing how you like it. Because as it is more consistent, you're gonna need to make like on the fly adjustments to your build less, and you can just power up in a steady way more, which I think makes stuff faster. Yeah, 36 to 44 supply.
To think about.
One of my biggest downswing samurai sessions recently, I was really frustrated and confused. I went down to like, I don't know, 300 MMR lower than my usual one, and I was like, I don't understand why I keep losing today. Like, I don't feel like I'm playing that slow. And I looked at the replays, 36 out of 36, 44 out of 44, 52 out of 52. I'm just consistently blocked. And then the next day, I was just like, I'm gonna build overlords, and I won a shit ton of games. Okay.
Yeah, lately it's been like 66 and 82 supply for me. Like right when your 3 base economy really starts humming along, and I seem to really get hard blocked.
Writing down this overlord recommendation. Reminder, 36 out of 36, 44 out of 44. What did you say the other ones were that you're hitting?
66 and 82.
Better to make a couple extra than not enough. Reminder that if your overlord is getting shot at by a Phoenix or a Marine or a Viking or a Karen or something, you should make 2 or whatever you were going to make plus 1. Free up supply. Make an extra. if you are being shot by Marine, Viking, Phoenix, Stalker, Karen. Okay, we're good. Dubstep, help us. Alright, we've got the 2 overlords in position, Hellions and Vikings. And armory. Oh, is this the landed Viking build? The Hellbat shove?
Yeah, this player really likes Hellbat shoves.
$4-minute, 350 to 4-minute roach horn. And then also 430 spore reminder. You did get the spores in the previous game we saw, but it's nice to be reminded again. Lest we
that's
forget.
pretty well drilled into memory.
That's good. Okay, so there's a Viking and a Marine shooting your overlords. So how many overlords should we make?
3, I would.
Yep. Well, you have a good bit of supply now, but you're about to lose 16. So yeah, 3 would be good because you replace each of the 2 that are being killed, and then you also make 1 more to just move your progress along. You are correct, sir. We made 1. Now we're making 2 more. Here it is. Heckbat mode.
Engage.
Okay, so this time we didn't have a Bane Nest yet. The Bane Nest would be at 345 specifically because of builds like this. A cool thing you can do here that I noticed in a couple of my replays where I took too much damage to this is have the Lings flank this army. Normally they're going to expect all of your stuff to go directly into their army from your creep. And you notice how the Viking is in the back, and I think there's why do they not have a Marine with this build? They just didn't use their barracks. That's pretty funny. Okay, so if this was executed better, there would be like 4 Marines with this too. And usually they would put the Hellbats in the front, the Marines and the Viking are in the back. And this isn't really too far. If you sent the Lings down here and then over here to flank, or you could have them over at your 4th base, and then your queens retreat to the other side of the hatch. You want to be thinking about this push as one that's pretty slow, and it gives you lots of time to retreat and split. So let's see what you do. You're retreating. So for this, I would just click individual queens. Once you get set up where you're ready to start fighting, I'll slow this down. Remember to produce units through the push. Queen C, Viking landed. Hellbat mode. So we really just attack move with the queens, and then we look at the queen who's in the front and getting focused down, and we click her to the back. So she would go south, like directly south, and then look to transfuse the next queen who's in the front. So we want to make this as efficient of a micro engagement as possible. And anytime you move command the queens, they'll stop attacking for a period of time, but you're still receiving damage. So you want to just kind of let them stand and fight and individually click the queen who's in the front and getting shot and click her to the back. It's like this queen in the front, she's getting shot. All the other queens continue to fight. You can move her to the back. This is a case where the Terran fucked up and the Medivac is too far forward. So you could snipe that as well. That's something you can look for. Get those transfuses if you can. And got the Medivac, nice. Okay, so now we do what as the play?
Take a 4th base and hold down the D key.
Hell yeah. And inject the bases.
Oh yeah.
So we're looking at Queens versus Hellbats. Queens stand and fight. After being kind of split, click the forward focused queen to the back. Focus on transfuses. Pick medevac /lib if you can. Save. Fourth base is up. Lings are breaking rocks. Nice. Spend that queen energy. It's another basic fundamental thing. You have rapid fire set to creep tumor?
Yes.
Yeah. Nice.
That Liberator got some work done.
Yeah, it's a pretty common follow-up to different pressure attacks. I'm to the point now where after there have been Hellions that drove around and were sacrificed for damage, I just look at my main, expecting it to be a Liberator harass. Having Overlords here is good.
Sense.
This main base is really big.
Yeah, it is.
We're droning up well, got melee, got veins. Macro hatch is up. Sometimes I'll take my roaming queen group and just have them go up to the main, inject the macro hatch like 4 times, spread some creep there, and then go back to the 4th. Oh, it's bio. Okay. Looks like they're going, what, 5 gas? Yeah. What vision do we have? You did scout with the 2 Overlords early, but we don't really know now. I think if you just sent a couple Marines, you would see what this is. A couple links in here, you would see the Marines, and then you would know it's bio. Yeah. Just Neural and SCV, build a supply depot, then a barracks, make a Marine, and then send it in and they won't know. But yeah, the ramp is usually open. The time that I would usually recommend scouting here is 6:30.
Okay.
6:30, Overlord or Ling Scout, main to see production. Overlord / Overseer. Nice pick up on the Hellions.
I don't know why they kept making Hellions when they were going bio.
I don't know which Terran started this, but it's been kind of common. They'll just make maybe 4 to 6 Hellions and make them into Hellbats. If they already took the early armory, it does help with some of the early stim Marine attacks if they just have a few Hellbats in the front. It makes the push less counterable by Lings. Because if it's just Marine Medevac, you can usually beat that with Lings. Okay, so for this fight, we want to remind ourselves of patience and try to connect with everything at once. So you've got a few different lanes of opportunity to hit this attack, and you're also not in a huge rush. I know it's rustling whenever they're stimming and killing your creep tumors and things, but it's not a super huge danger until they can actually shoot your bases.
Right.
So the push is being set up at the edge of creep. And this grass here is an opportunity for you. You could have some units up there. Once the Marines and Hellbats are over, then you can't sneak them around. But you could still go from this location here in the middle, and you could have some units go up from the back. And you could have some units here by your 4th where they are. and then some here. So if you hit from these 3 lanes, I think the engagement would look really good. And you also want to make sure the queens go in first. You can kind of just move the queens, and then sometimes in ZVT I will F2 if I have 3 different sets of stuff that's all spread out properly, and then I would F2 like right behind where the army is.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to connect with everything at once. Your queen count is really nice, so bringing those high energy queens, letting them go in and just transfuse each other, be pretty good. $84 drones, grab a 5th. Nice, he's getting it. Are Kestnuts lewd? Probably. Are they?
I'm sorry, what?
Are Kestnuts lewd?
Sure, why not?
The best answer possible.
Baby, I'll be as lewd as you want me to be.
Nice, you've got your hive going, Hydra speed. Now you know that's bio. You've got Bane speed. You've got +1 melee, +2 armor. Are you going ultras or broods, or do you just slam out the Hydroling Bane?
I think I've already got the Ultra Cavern down, yeah.
Nice, like a boss. I was looking at that tasty fight. Man, you are very ahead.
Yeah.
What happens?
I just slowly get pushed the fuck over.
Oh, man.
Very frustrating.
Do you have a moment to speak about our Lord and Savior 54 Lings in the Terran's Natural? I'll have you know that I used to be sad and I used to feel hopeless in ZVT against Bio, but then I embraced our Lord and Savior 54 Lings into the Terra Natural, and my life has been changed because all the reinforcement Marines are getting their butt kicked now, and I killed all the SCVs in the Natural and a bunch of supply depots and add-ons. And I also didn't lose those Lings to the mine tank. This is fucking treacherous, dude. Look at this. A tank on the high ground, a mine on the other side of the grass, another tank, and then another 2 mines, like, stuttered behind that. Whew.
Yeah.
That is the place to not take a fight.
Yeah, no shit.
Okay. This is worth writing down. All right. Versus Bio. When they are sieging you with tank mine or creating some kind of choke, steel lings to Mutaki around side of map and into natural. Cool. The cases where this is not good to do, and I fucked this up yesterday during Samurai, is when they're just turtling. If the Terran is straight up turtling at their home base, then sending units is just gonna throw them away. But in this case, they are like poising themselves to be contesting mid-map and then pushing into you. So this is usually when those openings happen. You've got just a smattering of units being rallied out. And this to me is offensive. This is a base with no defense. So 8 Banes into a SCV line right there would kill a whole bunch of stuff. They're not paying rent there. They could put a tank or a bunker with Marines or something. A Widow Mine, you know. Just being a little bit responsible about your stuff.
Right. They're just kind of chilling on your couch with their feet up.
Yep. Like they own the place. And this not being a planetary too.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got the
I
train
see what you
species
mean.
now. Yeah, I kind of think about it similar to Hydraling Bane against Protoss, where the Hydralisk is not the killing unit, it's the unit that allows you to survive pushes on creep. If they push into you with a bunch of Archons or just gateway-oriented stuff, Hydras can defend on creep really well. But if you attack with Hydras into a Protoss 3rd or 4th base, you're going to get murdered by storms, and it's not even close to a good idea. Ling Bane is what deals the damage. And I would think that against Terran, it can kind of be the same thing, where your queens and your hydras allow you to safely tech into hive, and your lings and your banes are what distract and kind of control the tempo of the matchup by running into the natural. Yeah, their 3-3 was pretty well timed. And you use camera location hotkeys, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately or fortunately, a lot of players don't. And I would guess at this level of like Diamond 1 to Masters 2, it's, I don't know, maybe people in the chat or something can weigh in on this. I don't know what the percentage is of players who use camera keys, but for players who don't, any counterattacks or backstabs and stuff are really annoying to defend. Because they have to either click the minimap or click the base camera to get to that base that they need, like the next base button. So for you as a core user and someone who does use the steal command and camera locations, that would be a way to leverage a mechanical edge that you have. So just looking at your Hydraling Bane army, I have 50 lings. They could be used to flank if I go for a 360 surround, or they could be used to backstab.
These engagements are just terrible for me.
Yeah. The Widowmine count is snowballing a little bit here. They have a spell damage effect too, so the Ultra Armor doesn't really do anything for you. Mainly the way you would engage efficiently against that is with the Hydras that you had earlier and with Ling Flank. I had one really funny game. Was it on Monday, where a Terran pushed into me with Marine Mine, and all the mine hits blew up all the bio and the Medivacs too.
Oh, I saw that. I saw that.
It was hilarious. That poor man.
Yeah, that had to be really painful.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's switch gears to ZVP.
Sounds good.
I called this one Slow and Painful Death.
Ah, yes, I see you too have played a ZVP macro game.
Yep. Take a lot of damage to the Adept printer this game, and then I think I recover pretty well, but I just still slowly get pushed over by their army. Even though it's 5 bases to 3.
I did learn a response to Zest's Glaive Adept Prism thing from the Elima League replay packs that I hadn't done or thought of before. This might happen. We'll see what your Overlord Scout is. I can tell you how it goes. But it's helped me a lot. I think it's been a massive improvement on my survival rate through that stage. It's always going to be ugly, but I think this is the least bad option. So you get Ling Speed and pull off gas. Cool. Adept. Okay, so this is the clue. Stalker. The Stalker being here is interesting for the fact that you don't need to make 10 lings anymore. You can defend against the one Adept on creep with 4 lings, and you don't need Ling Speed to do that. You need Ling Speed if you want to beat 2 Adepts off creep, but this is not 2 Adepts, this is a Stalker. So what players have been doing in like KRGM is you see the Stalker and then you just stay to your post here, and you can look at the wall off and the gas, and they'll cancel Ling Speed and go for a Lair and a Roach Warren a little bit on the early side. So you could get your Lair and Roach Warren at around 3:20 to 3:30 instead of the usual 3:45 to 4 minutes, because you're going to rush up to Roaches and Roach Speed, not Lings, because then you're making a unit that actually trades well against Adepts rather than one like Lings that trade poorly. And if they're spamming Adepts, the Adepts kind of, they form a clump where you can't even attack all of them, you can only attack the outer ring. So this is first Overlord Scout sees Stalker after Adept. Cancel Ling Speed. Take Lair plus Roach Warren. Drone up to 40 to 44 with 3 gas. Roach Speed. And then you want to make sure drones are mainly concentrated between main and nat, not third. Your third location you can't defend. This is one of the reasons why this S build is so strong, is you don't have an efficient unit like speed roaches until a little bit after the first wave hits, and lings don't really trade very well against it at all. So it's not possible to defend mass adepts from all 3 bases, but you can defend 2 bases pretty well.
Okay.
And it is that build exactly. 4 gateway, prism, glaive. Very strong stuff. So we would
I don't actually see this build all that often, so I'm not well practiced against.
The further you go up, the more you're going to see it. It's very common. It kind of seems to me like there are a couple different kinds of Protoss players. You have the players who look for their own way to macro, and it might have some like personal flair to it, but the basic idea is you're turtling on 3 bases with Storm, and then you're going for Sky Toss with your 4th base. And then there's like the build order hero Protoss players who watch GSL religiously, and anytime there's a build that kills Zerg, they study it and practice it for like 2 weeks, and that's pretty much all they do. So being able to identify some of those builds and know what your response is gonna increase your win rate pretty dramatically, because a lot of players approach the game that way. So in this case, what the bases would look like, instead of 7 out of 16 at the natural, it would be 0 out of 16. And you can just put those from the 3rd to the natural once you identify this as the build. Basically, just from the first stalker, I would probably set up my bases in that way, where all the drones are in those 2 bases, and then you're kind of looking for when the attack is going to show up. And you would probably have your roaches just chilling here. If your 3rd hatch dies against this build, it's not a big deal. I've won lots of games when the 3rd dies, so you're mainly looking to save the drones.
Okay.
So I will write some of this for you. Make sure drones are mainly concentrated in mat and 3rd. Main and nat, not the 3rd. Roaches at your natural. Roach speed ASAP, because that allows you to chase. If you don't take roach speed, they'll just keep running you around until the game is over, and it's really annoying. So it is worth delaying 4 roaches of gas for the roach speed. And then once the push is defended, drone bases, and maybe hassle 3rd Nexus a bit. Usually it's not going to be like a killer blow unless they really mess up. I think your mindset should be, you expect to lose 6 to 8 drones. You'll defend the attack, and you should be a little bit behind in workers. But then if your queen stayed alive, you can inject and then get up to 60 drones pretty fast.
Yeah, defense is just really sloppy for me.
This would be a situation where the creep connection would help you a little bit. Not really that much. This map doesn't have that much space between the main and the natural that's not creeped. I would say trying to get the queens on the prism is another worthwhile note here. Have you ever watched a queen damaged in Adept?
It's pretty sad.
It is. It's very sad. Queen shooting a prism, though, is slightly less sad. Especially if they kill the prism, then it's a yay situation.
Right. The only good prism is a dead prism.
Heh. Or one that you made from Neuralink probes.
Ooh.
So they're going for a 620 third base. Woo. What is a standard third base timing?
Like 4:30 to 5.
Yeah. Correct. This Protoss must have been up to some aggression. Got your fourth base going. Going for roach speed. What would be your target composition against this?
I Ravage or Ling Bane, I think.
Yep, that's a pretty good call. If you took fairly heavy damage, it might not be the worst idea to just have mostly Roach Ravager and try to build supply as fast as you can. There is a 60 probe all in where they don't take gases at the third, or they don't saturate the mineral line all the way and they skip Storm and they just hit you with about 4 Archons and then a bunch of gateway stuff. Against that, just having a Roach Ravager army is a lot better for defending because Bane speed is kind of expensive.
And I do die to that all in a lot, so that's
Yeah,
good.
these rocks are really important to break. But this is the last week of this map. It'll be cycled out with the next season on Tuesday.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Eternal.
I looked at the new maps, but I didn't pay attention to what was replacing what.
Yeah, they did change it. I think initially they were going to have Purity and Industry again, and then they did an update to the post and said, actually, no. We're going to have Eternal Empire instead.
I think that makes sense. I like Eternal Empire a lot better.
Yeah, they took Purity and Industry out of the GSO Code S map pool, so it seemed kind of silly to me that they were going to put it in the season again.
Yeah.
Doing melee 1, Bane speed, fourth base is up. 75 drones like a boss. Man, these opponents just not paying any rent on their base whatsoever. There's like 1 shield battery. What is that gonna do?
Not a whole lot.
You could put some lings on that mineral line. Once Bane speed is done, you could send some speed Banes. That's a common theme between a lot of these replays we've gone over today, is opponents not paying any rent on their bases. Oh, sick. Back it up, back it up.
Gonna lose these queens, though.
I would make roaches here rather than lings. Just because they're faster to build up your supply and spend your money. Banelings take longer to make than roaches do.
Oh, yeah.
How many queens do we have? 9. Nice. What kind of push synergizes well with 9 queens?
Broodlords?
Hydra Broodlord, yeah. I do like the Hydra Den as a follow-up to this Ravager Lingbane kind of style. You've got a couple different options before your Broodlords are out. You could distract with mutas. Notice the distinct lack of defense for mutas at any Protoss base that exists. Please pay extra attention to the lack of photon cannons. And this happens a lot of the time. There have been some matches I saw of high-level Zergs. I saw a Cyril game like this. I think it was Cyril versus Need, where he just made 14 mutas, and as soon as it touched the probe line, Need tapped out. Some games
I think
they
I
just,
saw that game too.
Yeah, they don't even prepare at all. Granted, he is Cyril, and he was already ahead. So the Hydralisk is a really good unit here, actually. I know sometimes it's not because they've got a ton of Storm, but if you're looking at their army and it's, what, 4 Immortals and a Stalker, they don't really have a good solution for Hydra, and Hydra would help you spend your money a lot better than Lings or Roaches would. So there's another thing we can round off here is Hydra Den helps spend money. If opponent HT count is low And bank is high. Make hydras to synergize with brew push. Fantastic.
I think I probably should have backed off here.
Yeah.
Saved what I could.
Yeah, they're
I think I
retaining.
overstayed my welcome there.
Yeah, they're retaining the core units and trading out the gateway units, which is kind of what they want to do.
Mm-hmm. I traded out too many of my core units.
Oh, I just found another fundamental to work on. Shift rally queens to a safe zone after they've spread some creep. We've bled a few queens to that. So this is the practice objective. Connect the bases, free up supply. Send queens. Shift to move command to safe zone after being told to creep. Safe zones. So the safe zone here is probably your fourth base. Say is the best spot for that. Is it really safe? Kind of. It's more safe than being on the front edge of creep.
Yeah, for sure.
Got the veins.
Tried to move command them onto the zealots, but it didn't work very well.
Yeah, hitting the Archons, it's not the most efficient, but if you have your melee attack upgrade, which you do, and you got melee 2 right away, it's kind of nice to just knock out their expensive units. I mean, it's not a great trade for the value, but for how it shifts the game state, you've traded some tier 1 units for a tier 3 unit.
Yeah.
And your bank is nice, and your economy is nice too. Oh, it's close. Yeah, Hydra production would help a lot here. It would force out more High Templar for Storm though, so that would be something to be mindful of. If you are making the Hydras, they will bank up more of that energy for Storm most likely.
Mm-hmm.
A single bile breaks 2 force fields. Oh. This Protoss is just attacking you.
Yeah, they're relentless.
Some good StarCraft. Oh look, muted defense now. Nice. How responsible. Yeah, that's part of why Hydra is the safer bet, because it's not really reliant on the cannon defense that they have at their bases. And if they do go for that 60 worker attack, you can defend that pretty much fine. Kill the rocks, please kill the rocks. Whew. Pretty close fight. Almost had it. GG.
Yeah, it was just... Felt like I was right on the edge of winning that game for like 5 minutes, and I just barely got pushed over there.
Yep. Keep teching up. We were kind of stuck on the same tech for a while. So
Yeah.
teching up would be a good general thing to work on. So
Yeah, I think this...
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to list off the main fundamental things to
Okay.
reiterate, but I can do that when we're done.
This game is kind of similar.
Do 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 do. Creep connect the bases. Watch for supply blocks in the early game. Rally queens to a safe zone. Tech up! Up! What else we got as a main? A main item. Under the EVP here. This map against Protoss. Third base is extremely easy for Protoss to defend. We are in it for the macro games here.
I generally don't even bother to try and contest the Protoss third on this map.
Yeah, beyond sniping the probe once or twice, there isn't really too much you can do. It's just really comfortable for them with the rocks here. They can put a couple, I think it's like 3 gateways, and that's pretty much closed off. What was the vision that we had here? Look at that first Overlord. Okay. Overlord's going
lose
in.
the first Overlord.
Is this a Stalker Oracle play? Oh. That's one of the silliest openings.
Also put the Stargate in a really odd location where I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I end up losing a bunch of drones to the Oracle.
And we got no information at all.
Nope.
And your scout pattern was correct. You're going into the main. To hopefully see a Twilight Council or a Robo or a Stargate, and we saw nothing. So I think 4-minute Spore is probably the way to go if you get a 0 scout in. Just as a default time to fall back on. Okay, let's put that down. 4-minute. Spore versus Suspicious Toss. This is a wide rally. Holy shit. They're going to the very corner of the map.
Yeah, they were very determined that I not see this coming.
Props. Most players don't have the patience for that wide of an angle.
You're even microing it to make sure it stays at the very edge of the map.
Yeah, so 4-minute Spore would have been roughly done around that time. We're not supply blocked, which is good. We're making drones, which is good. Queen.
Well, we lost like 8 drones there, so
The queen. She might
easy
be
to
able to
not
shoot.
be supply blocked.
Yeah. You don't have to make overlords if you just lose an overlord worth of drones. Taps forehead.
Galaxy brain play.
Mm-hmm. Queens in the mineral line. That's another good one. I think that's mainly a versus Protoss one. But also versus BC and Banshee and stuff. And mainly for the early game. I'll say in the mineral line from 3-minute to 6-minute-ish. What are they going for? Just simple ground toss? They have no gate. They have 2 gateways. Oh man. How many units do they have? 2 adepts.
They have 2 adepts and a stalker.
And a sentry.
And a sentry, yeah.
Technically, a simple roach timing would kill this player. If we want to get technical. I did some off-race Protoss games, and a Zerg just did a 44 drone speed roach attack, and I died. That would also kill this player.
I just don't know how to identify like when I should do that.
Yeah, right now, I think generally what I do is I see oracles and I focus on queens and drones, which would be a fine response to this, because the Stargate is pretty expensive for gas. That's a lot fewer sentries that they could have for a Immortal Sentry attack. It's also less DTs they could have in your bases, less Archons and all that. So you've got the greed response to their greed, or you've got the aggression response. There wasn't really a great tell for you to be aggressive, and with the damage that you took, that would be putting you all in.
Yeah.
So droning up is totally legit here. Would probably rush tech in response to this, because they don't have a way to punish you to go for fast Broodlords. They can punish fast Hydra with the Templar Archives. But if you just took some Hydras to not die to Zealot Archon, and then you went for fast Broodlords, then you could probably hit a timing at their 4th. 7 queens.
Makes sense.
Pretty good. Spire's going.
Decks are really sloppy.
Queens rallied to where?
4th base.
Yeah. Safe zone. Get that rich Vespine. That's Broodlords. Creeping and taking a 5th. So the thing that we can say has persisted through the trials and tribulations of the year of Gromp, which is COVID and shit, is you're droning. It has passed through unscathed. We're still getting up to 75 plus. Respect. Keep doing that. Get your +2 melee quick. There's been a delay for that in the ZVPs.
It seems like I'm consistently late just in getting gases and tech.
I think your gas timings have been mostly fine, aside from the 4th one being a little bit late. Being more mineral focused is pretty okay, because that allows you to get that supply up so you can defend any 60 worker times they would go for.
But this opponent did not go for a 60 worker timing. They went up to 77 Probertos.
Oh. Sometimes when I color code stuff in the notes, it's a color that's so bright you can hardly see it. That neon green. We'll do army green. That's good. +2 melee. I guess I could do purple for that, but I was thinking banelings. There's a lot of lings. Bets on whether this... Oh, they just F2'd the Zealot. I love this. This is the kind of thing you don't see in the match, but it happens all the time. Even in GM, Protosses will do this. There's a big attack coming. The Zerg is going to attack our 4th. Oh no. What do we do? Look at the Zealot.
F2 and A move.
Look at the Zealot. Okay, do you see the 57 Zerglings? 57 Zerglings right there. And right there. And then
that'd be pretty fucking epic.
The Ravager Bane just walks home laughing to themselves, knowing full well the destruction that is at hand in the Protoss bases. So that's a common theme between ZVP and ZVT, is that the natural opening is consistently there. I mean, they did remake the Zealot, but the amount of discipline and attention it requires to keep the Zealot there with posturing and pressure at their 4th base is actually pretty hard. You would have to not use F2, which is a big ask.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about different races having different challenges.
Now, walling off is a meme. Having one Zergling opening in your wall and dying to a Ling Flood, that is something to complain about. You do have to be watertight against Zerg. I think this kind of attack mindset wise, what I would be focusing on here is, holy shit, we're maxed. We've got a really nice army. What can the opponent do to stop us from making Broodlords? Actually, nothing. Where is the Protoss going to take the best of all possible fights for themselves?
Probably in front of their base with a bunch of shield batteries and shit.
And Storms and Archons, yep. Where would they not take a good fight? Jeez, dude. Not even a single cannon or shield battery. This. Okay. So that might be a fun meme for you sometime. It's like you'd have your ladder stream and for one of the days you could be like, we're gonna send lings into random bases. And I would guess that would pay off a lot of the time, if these replays are any indication. Players just don't invest in defense at any base other than their fort. It's a very good trade.
Yeah, it really does seem like it.
Yeah. We need to put our eggs in different baskets. 2 baskets.
Sure.
The Ravager Bane basket and the Ling Bane basket. Ling Bane goes here. And here. And here. Ravager Bane, just make sure you don't die.
Sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just
no.
headbutting their army over and over again like this.
Yeah, and their Archon count keeps going up. GG.
Ugh, Storm, good unit.
Your tempo for attacking was good. It was just the location. Like your ability to be teching up and hitting the Protoss was correct. You were just hitting in the wrong place.
Gotcha. Well, that's something easy to work on.
Yeah, it is. You had all the right units that you would need to get ahead and take the game. It was just about putting them in the right place. So today's lesson is dogshit fundamentals versus direction and practice. The things that I've listed off as the main points for like criteria for moral victory: number 1, creep connect to bases; number 2, watch for supply blocks in the early game; number 3, rally queens to a safe zone; number 4 is tech up; number 5, queens in the mineral line, 3 minutes to 6 minutes versus Protoss and Terran for harass; number 6 is send lings into different bases at main, third, etc. Not always headbutting with the main army. The main army a lot of times is just what allows you to engage with the enemy army. In a lot of matches, the game is so even that if you go attack their army, you will lose by virtue of defender's advantage being a strong thing. But a lot of these players you're facing against, as we saw in many cases, don't have any defense at any of their bases at all, and they use F2, so you've got lots of opportunities.
At all.
Yep. Lots of opportunities to punish that. Zealots in the wall aren't always there. The depot is often down. And if they're attacking you, that's an especially good time to hit an attack. I also, with the Patreon posts and stuff, I've been doing a little bit of a log of what I did physically to prepare for the Samurai session. I don't know if you've read those, but one thing that I tried last week and also yesterday was just standing up between every game. It helped me a shit ton with tilt management and refocusing on processing a loss and being fully ready for the next match. Because I'll be honest, a lot of the games are really rustling, and when I'm in tryhard mode, I really want to win more so than I do if I'm entertaining and giving commentary and stuff. So sometimes I'll just finish a match and I'll go step outside on the balcony and I'll just be like, fuck Australia server, dude. And I just feel like I get to release some of that so I can come back to the next match and I've already let off that steam and I'm fully present for the current one. So
Yeah, that makes sense, because it's really easy to, like, angry queue into the next game when you're still, like, kind of ruminating over the last one. I do that a lot. That's worth a try.
Yep. So that's good. And hang in there, I would say. Like, having downswings is normal this year, sucks in general. So just being able to get back into the swing of it and work on some of the basics and not being in a rush to get back to any certain point, but just kind of enjoying that process of reacquainting yourself with the ways of the swarm.
I mean, I'm happy to be alive, to be perfectly honest with you. That was not a certainty when I was hospitalized a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'm glad
Just
that...
being able to get back to the game is fun.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Hail, Swollington. Can't keep this guy down.
Mighty Brunts. Always a pleasure, sir.
Indeed. Thank you very much for your support. I will ship you the notes right away.
Appreciate that.
And you have some awesome games, sir.
You too, man. Good luck on ladder.
Swarm them. Invest in technology. Creep your bases. Keep the queen safe. And take the victory.
Nice. That was a heckin' good session.
I still left that on.